Friends, if you want to watch super hit movie The Divide in English, then you must like this video. If you are visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Friends, in today's video, the movie we're going to talk about is called The Divide. We will talk about what this movie is and where you can watch it. All the interesting facts about this movie in today's video. I am going to tell you. I am also going to give you all the information on for which satellite channel you will get to watch this movie. Also, we will talk in detail about the technical department, music department, pre-production, filming, post-production, budget, box office collection of this film. We will also talk about the story of this film, and I will also give you a small review of the story of this film. Apart from this, we will discuss about the facts of this film, storyline, star cast, actors' performance in the film, and which character has played which role. That's why I request you friends to watch this video till the end, so let's start the video. The Divide is a 2011 American apocalyptic science fiction horror film directed by Xavier, written by Karl Mueller and Eron Sheean. The film stars Lauren German, Michael Biehn, Milo Ventimiglia, and Rosanna Arquette. The Divide premiered at the South by Southwest Film Festival on March 13, 2011, and Anchor Bay Films released it in the United States on January 13, 2012. Plot. As nuclear explosions ravage New York City, residents of an apartment block rush downstairs to escape from the building, only to be forced into the basement by further explosions. Only 8 of the residents, Eva and her boyfriend Sam, Josh and his brother Adrian, Josh's friend Bobby, Marilyn and her daughter Wendy, and Delvin, manage to force their way into the building's bomb shelter before the superintendent, Mickey, seals the door. The group acclimates to the cramped surroundings while Mickey asserts his dominance over the shelter and its denizens, much to the chagrin of Josh, Bobby, and Delvin. After some time, the shelter's door is broken open and the shelter is invaded by armed soldiers in biohazard suits. The men's speech is unintelligible and their allegiance remains ambiguous. The men attack the group and seize Wendy, leaving the shelter with her. Delvin and Mickey manage to kill 3 of the men, and Mickey takes a rifle. Josh volunteers to use one of the dead soldiers' suits to leave the shelter and search for Wendy. Outside of the shelter, Josh finds the area entirely sealed off by plastic sheet tunnels connected to a laboratory. Josh's outfit allows him to explore the lab, where he discovers several unconscious children, including Wendy, in stasis units, their hair shaved off and their eyes bandaged. One of the soldiers checks the ID on Josh's suit and, realizing he is an imposter, tears out his breathing apparatus, exposing Josh to the air. Josh flees back to the shelter, killing 2 of the soldiers on the way. After Josh returns, the soldiers weld the door shut from the outside, trapping everyone within. Time passes. Josh begins to suffer the effects of the radiation and admits to Adrian that he only went outside to find rescue for Adrian and himself. Eva, in a fractured relationship with the meek Sam, grows closer to Adrian. Bobby volunteers to hack up the bodies of the dead soldiers so their decaying remains can be thrown into the toilet's septic tank. Delvin grows suspicious that Mickey is hoarding resources. Marilyn, having been told by Josh that Wendy is dead, enters into a sexual relationship with Bobby. Marilyn attempts to convince Eva to sleep with Josh, warning her that the men will want sex. The group grows increasingly angry with Mickey as resources grow scarce, culminating when Delvin discovers Mickey's locked safe room and threatens to taser him if he does not open it. A struggle ensues and Mickey shoots Delvin in the head with the rifle. The group does not believe Mickey's argument of self-defense, and an increasingly ill Josh and an increasingly deranged Bobby torture him to gain the code to the safe room. Eva throws the rifle down the toilet to stop Josh using it. Seizing authority, Josh and Bobby are physically and emotionally abusive to Marilyn. Josh makes it clear that he wants Eva, and Sam is unable to stand up for her. Eva and Sam try to protect Marilyn from Josh and Bobby, but are unable to. While Eva is tasked with watching Mickey, Mickey reveals that there is a gun hidden in his safe room. Josh and Bobby force Eva to hack up Delvin's corpse when Sam cannot, leaving Eva distraught. Josh and Bobby, both losing their hair to radiation sickness, shave their heads. Mickey informs Eva that there is another way out of the shelter, through the septic tank to the sewer. Eva tries to retrieve the gun, but cannot get past the pair. She finds Marilyn's corpse, the two having beaten her to death. Eva notices her hair is falling out and realizes she is also sick. The shelter is not protecting them from the outside because of the broken door. Eva sends Sam to retrieve the gun while she cuts the power to distract Bobby and lures Josh away with the promise of sex. Josh grows suspicious and tries to rape Eva, but she fights him off with help from Adrian. Sam retrieves the gun, but as Bobby, Josh, Eva, and Adrian yell instructions at him to give the gun to them, Sam shoots and kills Adrian, perhaps as a result of jealousy over Eva's affections for Adrian. Josh brutally beats Sam. Bobby turns on Josh and is about to shoot him when Eva cuts his throat with a tin can lid. Eva frees Mickey, who shoots Josh. On his last action, Josh smashes an oil lamp, setting himself alight and causing a fire in the shelter. While Sam and Mickey attempt to put out the blaze, Eva chooses to escape. Eva recovers the biohazard suit and locks herself into the safe room, leaving Mickey and Sam trapped inside the burning shelter. Breaking through the toilet into the septic tank below, Eva drops into the tank and finds a ladder to the street. She emerges into the remains of the city and stares blankly at the total devastation. Cast Lauren German as Eva, Michael Biehn as Mickey Milo Ventimiglia as Josh Courtney B. Vance as Delvin Ashton Holmes as Adrian Rosanna Arquette as Marilyn. Yvonne Gonzalez as Sam Michael Ickland as Bobby Abbey. Fixon as Wendy Jennifer Blank as Liz Production. The film is based on a script by the screenwriting duo of Karl Mueller and Eron Sheean. Director Xavier cast Lauren German, Milo Ventimiglia, Michael Biehn, and Rosanna Arquette in leading roles for the film. The film was shot in the Millennium Center and the Manitoba Production Center in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Release The Divide was released theatrically by Content Films. After its premiere at Austin's South by Southwest Film Festival, the U.S. rights were quickly picked up by Anchor Bay. Reception. As of May 2023, the film has a 26% approval rating at Rotten Tomatoes and an average rating of 4.410 based on 58 reviews. Nigel Floyd of Time Out wrote, "Its nihilism feels cynical rather than authentically bleak, and the increasingly histrionic scenes start to resemble an indulgent actor's workshop that has spun out of control." David DeWitt of the New York Times wrote that the film is well made and has good performances, but it fails miserably because the only reason to continue watching it is to see how depraved the characters become. Soundtrack. The score was composed by guitarist and music producer Jean-Pierre Taib, another entry in the People Are Shit horror stakes. This international feature from French director Xavier Frontiers, scripted by Karl Mueller and Eron Sheean, whose Errors of the Human Body I like much more, has an impressive cast and a decent setup, but really doesn't have enough new to say to be worth suffering through. In a grabby opening, New York suffers a nuclear attack by terrorists, invaders, and some, but not all, residents of an apartment building make it to the basement survivalist shelter maintained by the custodian Mickey, Michael Biehn. After a while, a decontamination-suited party breach the shelter and take away the lone child, though not before sustaining casualties. In the oddest, most effective sequence, perhaps Cloverfield-inspired, leading man-type Josh, Milo Ventimiglia, puts on one of the survival suits and ventures outside, finding a polytunnel to a facility where shaven-headed children are being stored in containers for some obscure purpose, then returns to the cellar and doesn't tell Marilyn, Rosanna Arquette, the child's mother, what he's seen. Then the whole business about who's outside, who's responsible, and what exactly they're doing with the kids is summarily dropped, and the film turns into a hothouse parable of tyranny and gutlessness. A black dude, Courtney B. Vance, wonders what Mickey has stashed in his combination-locked retreat, all the supplies, of course, and gets shot dead in a struggle with the paranoid former firefighter. It's hinted that he suffered on 9/11. The others overcome Mickey and tie him to a chair, but this only means Josh and his loose cannon asshole pal Bobby, Michael Eklund, losing their hair through radiation poisoning and going pasty-faced and psycho, become the de facto rulers of the shelter. Replacing Mickey's survivalist rigor with decadent cruelty, Bobby and Josh make a sex slave of the now demented Marilyn and shave their heads, becoming kin to the fascist freaks of Frontier. Evie, Lauren German, who has done time in the Chainsaw and Hostel franchises, the heroine, Final Girl, is in a triangle with her wimp French boyfriend Sam, Ivan Gonzalez, whom Bobby starts wanting to rape, and Josh's decent half-brother Adrian, Ashton Holmes. It's a film where folk keep doing the worst or stupidest things, and Sam is the character who gets the dimmest developments, consistently failing to take advantage, nagged by everyone and, when given a gun, shooting the person he has a petty beef with rather than the people who would rape or kill him. This is staged in an unintentionally comic manner, with Eva and Josh both shouting at him to kill the other. Finally, Eva, did she really have to be called this? Is sole survivor, putting on the spacesuit and wading through the chemical toilet cesspool to the secret escape hatch and emerging in a ruined, deserted city she stares at in a manner which doesn't really count as an ending. This offers a good, varied cast of strong names with genre and general film cred, and gives most of them a few showcase scenes to play. Arquette, like her character, deserves better, but bravely suffers and exposes herself, but it's all random and haphazard. Admittedly, it's a despairing, apocalyptic vision. Even so, a film needs something more than hatefulness to get by. Well, it didn't take long for my worst films of 2012 list to get started, thanks to director Xavier and The Divide. In what is described by the filmmakers as a graphic and violent, post-apocalyptic thriller, 9 strangers, whose only prior commonality was being a resident in the same apartment building, are trapped underground in the apartment building's bunker-like basement following a nuclear attack. Sounds like it has potential, right? I thought so, and was anxious to see it. But after trying to erase the film's memory from my eyeballs, my one lament is that the film itself wasn't destroyed by a nuclear attack. With life moving ahead with the hustle and bustle of any other day, it comes as a shock when explosions start pummeling the city, rocking the very foundation from under it. Panic strikes, and the residents of one apartment building in particular hustle downward toward the street, with some 8 residents hurriedly being shuttled into the basement of the apartment building by its owner-manager, Mickey. Once inside, panic is replaced by shock, as Mickey slams the huge metal door shut, spinning its cylindrical lock as if a watertight lock in a submarine. Frantically, he runs strips of duct tape around the edging of the doorway to keep out the radiation dust while bombings continue raining down above ground. Slowly, these lost souls shoved to safety start to awaken from their daze as their eyes adjust to the jaundice-colored pallor of their prison. And as their minds clear and begin to process what has happened, anger, rage, and hysteria kick in. Marilyn and her daughter Wendy, roused from a late morning slumber, are both in tears, bewildered, frightened. Eva appears calm and stoic while her French attorney husband leans towards the whiny. Delvin, a proud African-American man, is very methodical, trying to assess the situation calmly and call for help on a portable CB-type radio, while Josh and his best friend Bobby are nothing but defiant hothead smart Alex. And Josh's younger brother Adrian, a soft-spoken young man with an obvious crush on Eva, appears lost and confused. Then there's Mickey. Well, Mickey makes himself the self-appointed leader because this is my basement. Rigged with generators to supply electricity, Mickey has obviously been preparing for this day. The makeshift bunker is outfitted with rudimentary toilet facilities, a shower, canned goods, water, first aid supplies, and a secretive room that is off-limits to all but Mickey. And of course, while everyone starts questioning what has happened, Mickey, in his very best political uncorrectness, goes from blaming one ethnicity to the next for what is happening atop. But as hours turn into days, it starts to become clear that there will be no rescue. That Mickey may, in fact, be correct, and radiation and death is all that awaits them above ground. That is, until the bunker lock is breached from the other side, and white-suited men, armed with massive weaponry, storm the bunker, taking Wendy captive, injuring Adrian and Marilyn, and causing more terror than our crew already felt. But as luck would have it, once our captives realize this is not a rescue mission, they do manage to kill 3 of the white suits. Of course, no one thought about what you then do with dead bodies in a closed-air room. With Wendy gone, Marilyn starts to descend into madness while Mickey, Delvin, Josh, and Eva plot to go topside to hopefully find Wendy, but more importantly, find a way out. With Josh the designated volunteer for the mission, what he finds on the outside is as equally, if not more, horrific as what fate now holds for our 9 survivors. With supplies running out and madness slowly taking hold of them all hope of humanity appears lost as the primal instincts of survival, clouded with desperation and panic, take hold. As Mickey and Delvin, respectively, Michael Biehn and Courtney B. Vance are the real veterans of this group. Joining them is Rosanna Arquette as Marilyn and Lauren German as Eva. Milo Ventimiglia and Michael Eklund step in as Josh and Bobby, and heaven only knows why given the storyline of these 2 characters. While Ivan Gonzalez and Ashton Holmes round out the group as Sam and Adrian, with Abby Thixon as Wendy. Ivan Gonzalez's Sam is sheer annoyance with his whimpering, simpering whininess, as is Ashton Holmes' puppy love for Lauren German's Eva. Rosanna Arquette is just a train wreck with no visible viable talent as an actress. Sadly, we lose Courtney B. Vance early on, as his character of Delvin was at least likable. On the whole, however, these characters are all so unlikable that you don't care that they are trapped. You don't care if they die. In fact, you want them to die fast. This is where the story completely fails. You need to be able to root for someone. Here, Xavier, Gens and company have made them so disgusting that you don't care. I was rooting for the men in white to just blow them all away. As for the story itself, I love the premise and was excited about the premise, but writers Karl Mueller and Eron Sheean, together with director Xavier, Gens, go so extreme for depravity and grotesqueness. Do we really need to see a woman with her period wiping away the blood with her hands while making out with a guy? That the film loses focus, missing golden opportunities for expanding the story with an actual story. There have been so many studies, as well as documented instances, on captivity and dire emergent circumstances, and what happens to people in those situations, returning to primordial ooze and a very carnivorous feral survival of the fittest nature, that it isn't surprising to see the mindless depravity that results here on screen. First, we lose the child. Child equals innocence. No surprise. And then we lose the African American, the one voice of reason. No surprise. But then we have the requisite blonde bimbette go over the edge with her daughter gone, and then everything becomes sexually depraved. Huh? One would think food, water, etc. are higher on the list than nightgowns, makeup, and sadomasochistic sex and rape, but not with the divide. We are taunted with a snippet of the outside world and military experimentation. Or is it experimentation? When Ventimiglia's character Josh heads out of the cellar allegedly to find little Wendy, yet we are only left with more unanswered questions. If survival is so keen, why run back to the cellar? Why not keep pushing along, or the others rush out to join? Does fear trump survival instincts? Another question with no answers. Was the nuke detonated for the purpose of experimentation, or were factions, countries warring? We are never told, and the only character that ever offers any hypothesis for what's happening above is Michael Biehn's Mickey. And that hypothesis keeps changing until he's duct-taped to the wheelchair and gagged. There are no words for the plotline of Josh and Bobby and the performances of Ventimiglia and Eklund beyond ridiculum and disgusting. And as we look to film continuity, one must ask, why are they getting rapid bald spots and not Biehn's Mickey or Gonzalez, Sam or German's Eva? Further, the makeup on those two looks more like that of starving children in Africa, and again, fails due to lack of continuity, by it not being applied to each of the other survivors, but for eventually some lip-cracking on Eva. The lack of continuity within the story and the physical appearance of the characters is horrifically noticeable. I do, however, like Lauren German's quiet, studious, boiling pot approach to Eva. It works. But there is a bright spot in the divide, besides the fact that it does end. The explosions and effects at the beginning of the movie that set the captivity in motion are exceedingly well done. The repetitive, surprising sounds effects of above-ground explosions that just pop up thereafter are fantastic. Well done from a sound standpoint in terms of quality and believability, but extremely effective with the timing and placement within the scenes. So applause to Brock Capel, the sound engineer, and his team. Laurent Baer's cinematography is believable with the jaundiced pallor of the basement and only an occasional pop of color from a lighted Santa lawn figure or the glow of a candle, which is still yellowed in its pallor but provides a flash of light. The vibrant bright white-on-white contrast with the above-ground military tunnel is stunning, as is the lensing of Josh going through it. Best lensing in the whole film, both literally and figuratively, and obviously metaphoric for death and going into the light. I hate to say it, but the visual effects are in keeping with the overall bad quality of this film, starting with the man on fire and even the cutting off of Mickey's finger. Close-ups on heinous brutality of trying to slit a fingernail from a finger or cutting off a finger show the poor quality of workmanship. For example, the fingernail appears to be a papered press-on, and the knife against the skin looks like a blend between cardboard and rubber. With the man on fire sequence, you see a white t-shirt on the body where it was clearly shirtless 2 seconds earlier. Inexcusable technical production mistakes. And should I even start to talk about the implausibility of feces-laden sewage, which surely would be non-existent following an extended period of radiation and complete destruction of civilization? And what about those oxygen tanks affixed to the men in white suits? How long will that last? So many holes, so many problems. I have to believe that the financiers of the Divide were themselves trapped inside a bunker and tortured to pony up money to make this. Now, I normally like depraved insanity and violence in a film, and in fact, when done well, welcome it. But The Divide is just so over the top that it's not even laughable and only fit to become a midnight cult classic for those completely drunk, stoned, or trapped in a bunker life basement themselves. The one valuable lesson gleaned from The Divide? We learn a multitude of new uses for duct tape. However, one of them should be to seal the film canisters of The Divide shut to save you from seeing it. An apocalypse gone wrong. Normally, I stay away from films involving an apocalypse via nuclear weapons because I'm so paranoid about it actually happening. I watched Threads, 1984, once and have never watched it again. I can't imagine what I would do if a nuclear war was imminent, and I somehow managed to survive and luckily end up in a space that was stocked with enough provisions to survive the necessary amount of time for the radiation to subside. Well, a little film from 2011 would give me a slight glimpse into that what-if scenario. That is The Divide. This film came highly recommended by someone who I take in high regard, so I gave it a go. Because I'm a huge fan of Michael Biehn, I am very familiar with his IMDb page, and I knew that he was in this film, so it was not entirely unwelcome. But when I clicked on the IMDb page for this film, I noticed a very low score of 28 out of 100 on Metacritic. Intrigued, I read some of the reviews, and one thing I noticed was that there were very few mixed reviews. This film was either dubbed as ultra fantastic OMG best thing ever, or this film is shit. This sparked some interest. Never before have I seen such contrasting opinions about a 2-hour consumption of someone's time. Now that I've seen the film, I feel that nothing better encapsulates my opinion of it. At best, I don't know if I like the film or not. So hopefully, this review will sort that out for me. With all that in mind, let's begin as always with a brief rundown of the plot. I'll try to keep it as spoiler-free as I can. The Divide starts out with the most horrifying start to anyone's day, as a young woman watches a nuclear bomb detonate just streets away from her apartment building. As the blast wave gets closer, she is dragged away and down the stairs as dozens of people try to break out. When that means of escape becomes impossible, they delve further into the building, and 8 survivors shove their way into a fallout shelter that is owned by the building's landlord, Michael Biehn. They all soon realize that they are stuck together for an indefinite amount of time, and the thought soon becomes unbearable. Things only get bleaker from there. As time goes on and supplies run low, tensions between the neighbors flare skywards to the point where shit gets more fucked beyond the work ethic of any nuclear bomb. I'm going to start with the things that I don't like before I move on to the good aspects of the film. One thing that is extremely evident right from the start is that this is a character-driven film. So what is so perplexing is that there is very little character on display. The only character that is given even the slightest glimpse of a backstory is Mickey. When the others invade his room, they discover newspaper clippings of the September 11th terrorist attacks and a picture of him as a firefighter. so it is hinted at that he might have been there that day, but it is not confirmed. There are also pictures of his wife and a little child, so there is also a suggestion that they may have died in the attack. I also get the impression, again not confirmed, that he may have served time in the military. He's got a huge American flag in his room. He is casually racist towards Middle Eastern types and blames them for the nuclear attack. He just has a grizzled, haunted look about him, which makes me feel that he's seen horrors that no one else can comprehend, to the extent where a nuclear bomb landing on his doorstep doesn't faze him in the slightest. He also had the foresight to build a big, fuck-off shelter in the basement of his own apartment building, which shows he knows how wars can escalate. In terms of the other characters, Mickey says a line about how he planned to build a shelter and relax, whilst his pain-in-the-ass tenants barbecued above. When he said that, I thought, that's a bit harsh, but by the end, I couldn't have agreed with him more. Aside from Mickey, the lineup goes thus: obvious protagonist, Eva, Lauren German; her boyfriend, Sam, Evan Gonzalez, asshole waiting to happen; Josh, Milo Ventimiglia; his nice boy brother, Adrian Ashton Holmes; radio enthusiast, Devlin, Courtney B. Vance; hard rocker, Bobby, Michael Eklund; single mother, Marilyn, Rosanna Arquette; and last but certainly not least, her little daughter, Wendy, Abby Thixon. These characters have survived annihilation, but the real test is if they can survive each other. It's very clear from the get-go that these characters have no concept of boundaries and have zero tolerance for rules. Right from when Mickey closes the door, he gives the survivors two very simple rules. Number 1, don't open the door, and number 2, stay out of his room. Apart from that, the vast space is theirs to do with as they see fit. Not even 12 minutes in, the first rule is already broken. The main focus on Mickey's mind is to keep the door shut, as the radioactive dust from the explosion is something that is best left on the outside, unless everyone wants to die a slow and painful death. So I have no idea why a significant amount of the survivors want to open the door and breathe in a good lungful of fallout. No matter how he comes across, Mickey's actions are in everyone's best interest. Come to think of it, Mickey is portrayed as a complete asshole who is just trying to fuck everyone over by holding out on food, but I didn't see any kind of behavior that suggests that he is a complete prick. It seems to me that all the other characters are pulling the dick moves. Everyone needs to bear in mind that Mickey didn't invite them into his shelter. They forced their way in. He did his best to keep them out, and now I know why. So when the characters eat all of his food and drink all of his water, then shout at him for not having any more food and water, then that sends my rage into overdrive. There is a great moment when someone is complaining about the state of the shelter and the food. Then Mickey has a massive go at him, and that cheered me up because he's finally standing up for himself. Also, when Devlin holds Mickey at gunpoint, albeit with a taser gun, he does not have the right to be surprised when Mickey turns around and shoots him in the head. As far as I'm concerned, it was self-defense. The survivors are completely unaware that they are guests in Mickey's home, and it is really impolite to tie their host to a chair and torture him for the combination to his food supply. All of the characters' actions throughout this film either make me very uncomfortable or infuriated. Let's move on. The film has a habit of dangling plot lines in front of the audience and never following through. Mickey's backstory is one, but another is the speculation of who orchestrated the nuclear attack. Just as the survivors are settling in, the shelter is broken into by guys who look like the stormtroopers from Star Wars. They pick up little Wendy, take some of her blood, bag her, and take her away, much to the distress of everyone in the shelter. Mickey kills one of them and takes his gun, then kills another by blowing him up. Devlin kills a stormtrooper by bashing his brains in with a pipe. When they unmask him, the man is of Oriental descent, adding to the speculation. Later, when Devlin is listening to the radio, the voice on the other end has an American accent. When Josh leaves in the man's biohazard suit to go and get Wendy, he finds her in some kind of stasis tube with a shaved head and plasters over her eyes. He is discovered before he can get to her. There is a fine line between show, don't tell, and planting a load of nonsense into the plot. Even after all that, That plot line is sort of dropped and never mentioned again. I get the feeling that the stormtroopers were put in so they could scavenge a biohazard suit, which is necessary for the plot later on. There are quite a few plot holes and questions that don't get answered. At the start, when Eva is watching the explosions from her window, with the limited knowledge that I have about nuclear weapons, I'm pretty sure that looking directly at a nuclear explosion would melt your eyes clean out of your head. The windows don't even break. Directed by Xavier, written by Karl, Mueller, Eron, Sheean, produced by Rossum, Dinerstein, Darryn, Welch, Nathaniel, or starring Lauren German, Michael Biehn, Milo Ventimiglia, Courtney Bance, Ivan Gonzalez, Michael Eklund, Abby Fixon, Ashton Holmes, Roseanne Arquette. Cinematography Brown Bear, cited by Carlo Rizzo. Music by John Pierre. To production companies: Instinctive Film, Flame Ventures, 1111 Films. Preferred content: Gillette Beer Group Inc. Connection. Distributed by Anner Bay Films. United States. Release dates: March 13, 2011. South by Southwest, January 13, 2012 in United States. Running time 110 minutes. Countries: Canada, United States. Language: English. Box office $145 and $600. Please like it, share it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.